Hello, Global Theater. My name is Jerry Fielka. Today is August 17, 2025. Want to thank Rob Grant and his amazing podcast, I'm Probably Wrong About Everything. Please subscribe. I want to welcome today's guest, Henry Kaiser. Thanks for coming, Henry. Where are you calling from?
Hey Jerry, I'm in above Davenport, California, a little north of Santa Cruz.
First question is, what is the best thing for a human being?
To be themselves, to help other people. I don't know, something like that.
I love both of those. Help others, be themselves. What's your favorite form of information?
Wait, let me just go back. To be themselves while helping other people. There we go.
While helping others. That's good.
Yeah, there we go.
What's your favorite form of information, how it comes into you?
It's not smell. It's not taste. So I guess it's sight and hearing.
Sight and hearing, yeah.
Probably not touch either.
Yeah.
It's probably not positional sense. I don't know.
Why do you think humans collect or gather information?
To survive.
Yeah. Do you think this need or want is more innate or more invented to collect information?
Innate.
Yeah. Do thoughts create emotions?
Sometimes.
Yeah. Fill in the blank. I don't know what I think until I
always know what I think.
No one's ever answered it that way. I always know. Okay. But go ahead.
Yeah. I might forget something, but I know what I'm thinking.
Right. But again,
and I know what I think about something when I perceive it.
Yeah. But again, it's like McLuhan said, I don't know what I think until I say it. Joan Didion says, I don't know what I think until I write it.
Nah, none of that.
Can humans think without language?
Depends on how you define think. Think might be a linguistic thing. Don't know.
Yeah, and I'm all for don't know. I can't answer that. Tangents, stories, anecdotes. In other words, you don't have to answer the question.
Yeah.
I'm just here to have prompts so we can talk. And again, I really appreciate your time. I forgot to mention that 16 years ago, I did an interview with you, and I've done 1,000 interviews in 40 years, and no one's ever served me warm homemade cookies before the interview except you, Henry. So I wanted to thank you for that. And then at the end, we jammed together, and you said, you want to jam? And I was like, wow, I was so honored.
We'd be doing those same two things today, having the cookies and jam, and if we were both in the same place. I
love it. Beautiful. Chomsky said language is not just words. It's a culture, a tradition, a unification of community, a whole history that creates what a community is. What do you do when language breaks down? When language doesn't work, what do you do?
I improvise. I don't know, but let's go back to that in the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, that a particular language forms the way people think and forms their culture.
Yeah.
Which is, in its strong form, the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis is discredited, but I'm somebody who still believes in it. Where did you first hear of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis?
Oh, through studies of McLuhan. He talked about it a lot. Yeah.
I remember I first heard about it in 7th grade when I read a Jack Vance novel called The Languages of Pow, and it was based on the concept of the Sapir-Whorf hypothesis, and they were changing the language cultural populations spoke to destroy their culture and put them in another culture. So I don't know, just because I was exposed to that as an early age, I believe that.
Beautiful. And the title of that book again was Language of what?
PAO, The Languages of PAO by Jack Vance, science fiction writer, who was a neighbor of mine in Oakland most of my life in 2 different houses, weirdly.
Wow. Let's go on sci-fi just for a second because it's good lead in. You know, Phil Lesh and Frank Zappa's favorite book was More Than Human
Human, right?
by
Theodore.
Theodore Sturgeon. Any guess why that would attract those two major music players?
Sturgeon was not a strong musician. He was a folk musician, but he wasn't an ensemble musician or an improviser. But I know that it appealed to both Zappa and Lesh. The concept of several different humans blushing was the word that Sturgeon used to form together into a gestalt that could do things that were greater than the individuals could have alone. And that's something that happens a lot in music, at classical music, composed music, improvised music, world music. And I think that they just immediately applied to that to music because they were musicians. If they were chefs and not musicians, they might have applied it slightly differently, or it might not have been their favorite thing.
Wow. Say the word again, Henry. B-L-U?
No, Blesh, Blesh.
B-L-E-S-H. That's a
Oh,
Sturgeon.
sorry. Blesh, Blesh.
That's a made-up Sturgeon word?
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Really good.
Phil Lesh liked to use that word a lot, but we'll notice that it has his name in it too. But
Oh my God, that's amazing. I just realized that now you told me. Here's a tricky, funny, jokey question about sci-fi. What's the golden age of sci-fi? 20s, 30s, 40s, 50s, or any?
60s. What I grew up with. It's always what you grew up with,
Well, you got it, because you know what it is? The answer is, well, just really quick, the answer is a joke. It's like, what's the golden age of sci-fi? When you're a teenager.
Yeah, or when you're in elementary school, in my case, because
Yeah.
the Heinlein juveniles influenced me so much because I read those in first to second grade. They're written in the 50s, and then when I got to college in the early 70s, that I read everything by Samuel R. Delany, and that seemed kind of like another golden age to me. So those are my two golden age writers in two different decades.
Very good. I love this little tangent because the one other question, you're well versed in this. The Man Who Fell to Earth is based on a novel, and not most people are aware of it from the David Bowie movie.
Yes, yeah.
In the movie, Bowie's watching like 18 TVs at one time. Is that in the book?
I read the book a long time ago. I don't remember. I suspect not, because that seems more of a cinematic device than a novelistic device, if I was to guess.
Yeah, because today everything is multiple screens. I mean, pretty much we're a multiple screen world. And back then, do you know the two big known names that watched several TVs at once when no one was watching several TVs at once? I mean, 60s and 70s.
Yeah.
Nixon and Elvis.
Oh, yeah.
Okay.
TV stars, right.
Yeah.
I just watch Elvis. I'm not a big fan of Elvis and Elvis movies. I understand where he fits in and what's good about
Yeah.
it. But I'd rather listen to real roots music than him. But I
Yeah.
looked at King Creole. It's a
Oh, yeah.
black and white Elvis movie. And
Yeah.
it's interesting. And I heard somebody on NPR who'd written a biography of Colonel Parker. And so they have what are apparently real New Orleans musicians playing most of the time in that film. At least that's who's on camera. I don't know if they were
Yeah.
New Orleans studio guys or LA guys or what. But to release the album, and the studio wanted to replace it all with rock and roll musicians playing the same music. And
Yeah.
Colonel Parker stopped it. Said, no, we leave the New Orleans music in.
Yeah, and they were black musicians. I remember seeing that in a doc, that Elvis's first film appearances with black musicians. Like what? Oh, I forgot what it is. What documentary or film that was, but that's amazing. I really appreciate you you reminding me of that. So Henry, your observations of humans in general, are we more thinking beings or more feeling beings?
I don't know. I'm not big on observation of humans. You could ask me about sea stars or manta rays, which I've spent more time
Right.
observing. I don't know. I don't think about it.
Yeah, because most 80% of people say we're more feeling beings, and they say it this way. I think we're more feeling beings. And Bridget Bardot says, when I make love, I don't think. I'm like, good luck. How do you turn your brain off? And people who meditate go, okay, think about not thinking. And then there's a bumper sticker on a car by street that says, don't believe everything you think. And I'm like, well, you could say, don't believe everything you feel.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I don't worry about that stuff. Not something I
Yeah.
think about. Yeah.
Here's two questions from Alan Turing in the 50s. One, is thinking a function of the soul?
Mm, I don't really notice souls, so I wouldn't know.
The second Turing is, can machines think?
It depends on how you define think. You
Yeah.
know? Yeah. Yeah, that just ends up being linguistic games that are involved with people talking about thinking and souls too much, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. Do you more pursue happiness or more pursue meaning?
I just try to get the job done. But what I do pursue in getting the job done is try to have fun. There's a documentary about Cecil Taylor called All the Notes, and Cecil says, if it's not fun, why are you doing it?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I love that. I wrote that quote down because I went through you have so many interviews and they're really articulate and concise, and I appreciate that because one of my favorite genres of music is funk. And I think words evoke more than their meaning. And the word funky, as it fun is the key, funky. So it says it right there.
I've actually got a question for us to talk about for a second. Okay. You mentioned funk music.
Yeah.
Do you think, as some people think, the disco music with evenly divided rhythms and a strict beat that doesn't change was brought along to kill funk because funk was too powerful part of black culture, and disco kills it?
That is a great question. I love George Clinton, the Parliament Funkadelic, saying at one point, there's a fine line between funk and disco. I think that, and here's another thing George said when his book came out a few years ago. I go, what kind of music do you like? And he goes, well, the kind that pisses me off is like, why do I not like this music? So we grow up, and when we get into music questions, we'll tackle this, but we grow up with biases and things we like more.
It's like favorite foods and tastes.
It's like it's taste. That's
what it can change. It can change too, but yeah,
and it can change. And so I think it's important to study the patterns and see why, if funk went down and disco went up, and all those patterns, and then figure out who was involved. I mean, I remember Johnny Otis saying, dude, we used to give a joint to the DJ with our 45. Now, is that paoli? Well, in a way, it's like you're giving them something as a gift to play your record.
It's like when I gave you those cookies at that last interview. Yeah.
And boy, did they taste good. But that's like when we try to figure out motives, and so it's a heavy question, Henry. We'll definitely get into it deeper. And is your take on it that it was that?
Well, I actually had a bad experience recently. There's a particular Swiss musician whose name we won't mention, who made some records where he had musicians do feedback, and then he was doing classical music type string arrangements to go with whatever they did. And he asked me and several people here to do some feedback for him, and he came here to California to do it. And it was Jim Thomas from the Mermen and Bill Walker, a local musician, and we did these feedback things, which are pretty much in the ecstatic tradition of Grateful Dead feedback from 1967 to 1971. And so I think he's going to do like the other and put, strings or sounds with it. And then he puts it to like a Berlin Euro disco beat, and then every note we play, he moves and justifies so it fits the disco beat. And I'm like, no, that's not what we did.
Yeah.
And it sounded awful.
Yeah.
For my tastes. And
Yeah.
I don't like anything, because in soul and funk and root American music, folk, white, black, all kinds, the tempos change slightly.
Yeah.
Um, in chorus, in verse, depending what the lyrics say, and the rhythms aren't evenly mathematically divided, perfect mathematic 16th notes or triplets. They're in between, and they're changing and shifting, and that's what's most 99.99% of our music on our planet is like that. And so when stuff is just this straight
Yeah.
fascist kind of thing, I hate it. Like an example would be Terry Riley's In C. Okay, there's the person plays the pulse who just does this on the piano for the whole thing,
Yeah.
and they start off at a certain tempo, and they're trying to stay sort of the same tempo, but they move a little bit and they react a little bit without knowing it. And I'd talk to Terry, and if he used a mechanical repeating thing that's perfectly like a click track doing the thing, doing the pulse, instead of a person playing it who moves a little bit, NC doesn't work. And all the magic things that happen don't happen. It kills it.
Yeah.
That's kind of interesting, I thought.
Oh, it's very interesting. And, you published an article in Guitar Player magazine many years ago. And you're a list maker, and I appreciate that because I am too. And you listed so many guitarists that had influence on you. And just listing Leo Nascitelli from the Meters and Ali Akbankar had a huge influence on me. And I mean, really,
and you know what that comes from, me doing that.
Tell me.
First Mother's Invention album, The List Inside.
Is that the inspiration?
Yes,
oh my.
I saw that, and then I've always thought he's doing his job there. That's really great. He listed all those things he cared about and was influenced by. So I try to pull out the lists anytime that I can, and I put some inside an album of mine, Aloha 2 LP set back in 1979.
Yeah.
And I got so many notes from people thanking me for doing that, and I'm sure Frank got many notes for thanking for, these people would never have heard of Perez or whatever if they or Johnny Guitar Watson or whoever if they hadn't seen that list of Franks.
Yeah. And it's funny because being a deep diver into Finnegan's Wake by James Joyce, we discovered Joyce was a huge list maker, and then we've studied who Joyce got list making from. So it goes way back. I think it's even Dante or somebody. My friend is obsessed with list making, and he's sort of traced the history. And of all people, Frank listed James Joyce on the freakout list, and that was like, what? So does the brain more detect consciousness or create it? Like, is consciousness there bubbling away and we're more so detecting it or more so creating it?
Let me see. Come here. Snowshoe, come here. Let me see if I can get some help here with this. Come on. Come here. Come here. Come on. Come here. He's coming. Come here. Up. Oh, come on. Don't be shy. Up. Come on. Up. No? Well, we could ask the dog. He would have,
Oh, that's the dog's name. What's the snowshoe?
Snowshoe.
Okay, and what's the cat's name?
That cat was named Spencer. Wait, here comes the dog. Come on.
Okay.
Up. Please come up. There we go. Come on. There.
Oh, look good.
Now let's ask the question again, and I'll see what.
Okay. Snowshoe, does the brain more detect consciousness or create it?
He says it has to do more with, is it something you can eat or something you can play with?
Back to the fun word. Yeah. That's good. But what's faster, Henry? Speed of light or speed of thought?
The speed of light would be faster because it's a chemical reaction versus an electromagnetic thing. Thought.
The poet Audre Lorde said, you can't dismantle the master's house using the master's tools. Her colleague Yvonne Rainer said, oh, you can if you expose the tools. What new tool do you suggest? And it doesn't have to be tangible.
For doing what job specifically?
Well, that's a great question because I open some of my questions with cute quotes. It doesn't mean you have to apply it. You put it in the context you want. I'm basically asking, what tool do you most gravitate towards? If you want to apply it towards dismantling the master's house, that's fine. Exposing the tools, however.
I don't know. Having a lot of certain kinds of guitar pedals is like dismantling everything you do every time. If you're not just using it to do the same thing every time.
Oh,
I don't
that's
know.
good.
It's injecting uncertainty. It's injecting randomness. It's injecting, probably extracting inspiration from the player. I don't know. That's my example. Just because
No, that's really good, Henry, because it is what new tool, because pedals are coming out every day. New pedals are coming out every day, right?
Yeah, I know. Too many. Too many.
Okay, now I kept asking people the tool question, and then someone said, well, what about a toy? What new toy do you gravitate towards?
I don't think I have any toys that aren't music related. There's no new diving related because my other job is I'm a diver. That's really what I am. I'm not really a musician. I'm a diver. But there's no real great new toy. Same old stuff.
Well, what's the main toy that you gravitate towards?
The recording studio.
Oh, that's good.
Recording studio.
Go ahead.
Making stuff. It's a tool. It's a toy.
Yeah.
It's making stuff. The job is to make stuff, and that's the central tool.
I was at a Fred Frith lecture in Venice, California, and he started talking about how Frank Zappa was one of those who used the recording studio as an instrument.
Yeah. I mean, so many people did that over time. Yeah.
What do you worry about when you go to bed at night?
Nothing.
Good. McLuhan learned from Ezra Pound that artists, musicians are the antenna of the race. They're broadcasting and detecting the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, so we might learn how to cope with what we don't like about our inventions. So, Henry, I asked you the question Marshall probed his whole career. Why do we ignore the hidden psychic effects of our inventions, even though the artists are broadcasting them to us?
I probably don't think about those things. If I think that there's something that influences me, it's just patterns in nature and the visual environment. And, I'm basically trained as a field ecologist. So I'm always looking at the way stuff interacts in an ecosystem. And I think about music the same way.
Yeah.
So I don't think about it. I don't think about culture and stuff like that.
Very good. But do you think artists have moral obligation?
I think artists have an obligation to a paying audience to give the audience their money's worth. I think artists may have a job that could be like a jester, could be like a bomb thrower, could just be a portrait artist who, I keep connecting it to economic things through culture. If I think about it that way. Yeah. So I think about it that way. I don't think about it in a philosophical way, and I have no cultural thing particularly to promote that I come from. And my ideas about music, come as much from Malagasy culture, Korean culture, Hindustani, Muslim culture, from just Iran, come from all kinds of places. My ideas about music, and they grow out of cultures in those places. But I'm like the open format world music radio station that I did for so many years on KPFA for 17 years, where I could play. I remember the new music director came along, was horrified that I was playing things from different countries instead of sticking to one country per show. And I was like, no, this is planet Earth. And that person could never get it. Yeah.
Yeah. Are you more afraid of new ideas or more afraid of old ideas?
Neither.
Yeah.
Neither. Not afraid of ideas.
Can you conjure up your earliest memory ever or one of them?
I remember saying the first word, which was clock, pointing at a clock in the kitchen and saying clock. That's my earliest memory.
Is memory more a curse?
I was in a high chair, so I was probably 1 year old or something like that.
Yeah. Is memory more a curse or more a blessing?
Tool,
Yeah.
tool.
You've covered a lot of this, but let's just go into it briefly. Tell me one person within your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
Mm, I didn't really have a family experience. Uh, so my dad was dying from when I was born, and my mom was really mentally ill, and I didn't see anybody else in my family. And I was in an institution for second and third grade while my dad was dying in the hospital, and my mom was locked up in a psychiatric hospital. And I didn't have any contact with any family. So family is something I don't know anything about. For instance, my friend Matt Groening's TV show, The Simpsons. A lot of it's about family dynamics and stuff. I can't understand it. It's like watching something in a language I don't understand. You know,
Yeah.
the only understanding I have of families, and it comes from a different point. I can't relate to it. Is like from watching Leave It to Beaver. You know,
Yeah.
that's and I know that wasn't like my experience. It's like, oh, is that what it's like for other people? I don't know.
Yeah.
I don't know. And I didn't observe a lot of family activity with my friends' families. So I don't know much about it.
Well, Henry, the same question outside your immediate family. I know there's lots, and we already talked about this list, but one person outside your immediate family who had an impact on you, and what was that impact?
After I was in college, I came back to California, and a friend of mine I'd known since nursery school had gone to UC Berkeley, and he had gone through the scientific diving program there. Um, I was already a recreational diver. I lied about my age when I was 11 and said I was 12, and basically took money out of my mom's purse and took the bus to San Francisco and got trained as a diver. And so I dove through high school, and I loved diving. And when I got back, my friend introduced me to the diving safety officer, Lloyd Austin at UC Berkeley. And I went diving with him a few times, and he said, "You should come, let me train you and be one of our instructors." And then, so that's how I got into scientific diving, which is different from recreational, commercial, or military diving. And that's taught there for 17 years and have had 13 deployments to Antarctica as a scientific diver. So probably Lloyd Austin in making sure I got this good scientific diver training and training me to be a good instructor and stuff, and giving me opportunities to dive in unusual situations all over the world doing science. Probably that's the most influential person.
Thank you, Henry. Did your parents raise you, or were you raised a particular religion?
No, none. Invisible. I was raised by invisible wolves. Uh, I remember the only time I went to church. Okay, I was in third grade in this military school in Palo Alto because my parents were in the hospital. And all of a sudden they said, "Hey, we're going to send you to Sunday school this week. Yeah, this week. We're going to take you in the car and send you to Sunday school." And I'm like, "Okay, what's that?" "Oh, it's this thing at this church. You'll like it." I'm like, "Why are they sending me to do that?" So I go to the Sunday school, and they have coloring sheets for kids to color. It's Palm Sunday or something, and and they give me one. It says on the sheet, "Jesus on an ass," and it's Jesus riding an ass down the street, donkey with a bunch of people. Okay, and I color it in, and then I say, "Okay, thank you," and hand it back. And they say, "Okay, you can take it home with you." I say, "Okay," so I take it back to the barracks, and I put it in a drawer where my clothes are in the barracks, and they have an inspection, and they pull it out and say, "What's this? It has a filthy word on it. You were going to get to go see your father next weekend. We forbid it. You're restricted to base." And I didn't get to see my father the last time. I don't know if that was a setup from somebody or what. So there's my experience of religion.
Wow.
That's a good
That
one.
was heavy. Thank you for being articulate and concise again, Henry. Do you pray?
No.
If God exists, what would you like God to say to you after you die?
I don't think anything happens after I die, so I have no desire for that, or I don't think about God. So, you know,
Okay.
you know,
Do,
how
do
much do you think about the specifically the toucans in the rainforest foot? You probably don't think about the foot of the toucan in the rainforest a lot. That's about how much I think about religion or God. I don't think about
yeah.
it. Yeah.
That's do evil people exist, or does evil use people as a vehicle?
I think that there's bad people and good people, and it's their own fault for being bad or good.
And really, the hidden question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? And I'll set it up. Alan Watts says, if you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them. Coppola stole from the mob and the samurai: keep your friends close and your enemies closer. JFK said, forgive your enemy, but don't forget their name. And Fellini says, I need an enemy. So it's a lot of thoughts. The basic question is, how do you advise someone to deal with an enemy? But first, how would you respond to Alan Watts? If you acknowledge your enemy, you empower them.
That's somewhat true. I think I try not to have enemies. I try to step out of the way. I got good at being invisible when I was a kid, and if there's somebody that's going to notice me to be an enemy, I try not to be noticed.
Yeah, because it's also goes into what Nassim Taleb said. Games were created to give non-heroes the illusion of winning. In real life, we don't know who wins or loses, but we can tell who a hero is. Gregory Bateson says, if the criminal gets caught, does he go, whoa, my criminal skills weren't up to snuff that day? Or does he go, oh, I did something morally and socially wrong? So again, it's a lot of prompts, but the basic question is, does punishment work?
Exclusion from society works to stop to somebody who keeps offending society and damaging other people. That works. I don't know if the rehabilitation in prison systems, probably different from country to country, work, but
Yeah.
removing somebody from being able to interact with other people if they're hurting, damaging, stealing, raping, killing, if you remove to where they can't do that effectively, then that does stop them from doing that. Protects the society, I guess. I don't know.
Yeah. James Joyce was the first projectionist in Dublin 100 years ago. He basically checked out. He said, this is stupid. Why should I go inside a building and see a movie of a tree when I can go outside and see a real tree? Years later, I'm glad you're smiling. Years later, Faulkner said, sometimes the best fiction is more true than journalism. Why do we have to recreate things in order to get them? Why do we have to go to a theatrical play of people acting out life? Why don't we just live life?
Well, it could be a play like a Shakespeare play that's historical about a different kind of story that was unique to its time. And or it could be a science fiction play about the future. Why don't we just live science fiction and go to another planet in a spaceship? We can't, but we can see a play about it or watch a movie about it, and it can be a kind of story that informs or not.
Yeah, very good. So you've talked about the tipping point for you to pursue music a lot. Seeing, I mean, it goes deeper, but I relate to it heavily because of our same interest in Elliot Ingberg, seeing Elliot play that solo Alice in Blunderland. But where was that tipping point for you to find that scuba diving was your calling? Like
No,
that.
just watching Lloyd Bridges and Sea Hunt.
Oh, Lloyd Bridges Sea Hunt.
Yeah,
Yeah.
but yeah, in the 50s before 1961. Yeah,
Yeah.
I want to be a diver.
Yeah.
I
And
think
so,
I was thinking of calling the next time I make the next solo record, calling the tracks all after titles of diving movies, and call the album. I was thinking "We Dive at Dawn." I think it's the next album title.
you are great with titles, and you've released and worked on so many titles. It's an amazing thing. I love.
You know, you know what shocked me? I know I'm on about 180 albums that have my name on the front. Okay, I know that. I could look on a Discogs, but then I noticed there's a little thing on Discogs that says appearances, and it's ones where my name's not on the front. I was like, I hadn't noticed that before, and I click that, And I've been on 440 albums. I was like, I didn't know that. And then I looked through it and I found more than several albums that had been released that I didn't know I was on. It's what a weird surprise. I mean, things that like a live concert somebody put out and I had no idea they'd done that in Japan. And it's weird when you play too much and record too much, I guess. But yeah, I got to make I like to make records. So it's usually about 10 a year, usually.
Beautiful, 10 a year. Well, let's go into that. And we'll go deeper into music now. But first, to start it off, is a screenwriting teacher told me a great art, great film, great music is when you can clearly see the intention of the maker. Stanley Kubrick says the opposite. Great art is when you can clearly not see the intention of the maker. What role does intention play in your creative process when you're making Henry Kaiser music?
My job is to get out of the way and let the music come from where it comes from.
Yeah.
That's all. The tension's there in the economic sense to make something that somebody will pay for, or intentions there in the sense of, hey, there's all this cool music in Madagascar that nobody's ever heard. Lindley, let's you and I go there and make some records with people. That's intention, but intention in the moment and playing, the only intentions get out of the way. I mean, because I come from the shamanic spirit possession type musical cultures. Those musics always appeal to me, and that you're just supposed to get out of the way. So I just try to get out of the way. I don't have some great idea that I'm going to do. I think something's fun, but basically, if I'm going to have fun, I want to get out of the way.
Really good. Duchamp said there's no art without an audience. How much are you thinking of your potential listener when you're making your music?
I just get out of the way, and I let wherever the music comes from, it can do its job of connecting with the listener. My job is just to put my hand up in the air. You can hold my hand, and the lightning hits my hand, and you feel what the lightning is like. That's how I feel like my job is. And I could think, I guess I should go up on the mountain to get that lightning some more this week. I don't know.
Yeah.
But I don't. There's not a lot of intention, except economic or practical intention, because I enjoy having an audience and enjoy that feeling of getting out of the way.
Yeah.
See what happens. That's
Beautiful.
why I like improvising with people, improvised music, because you don't know what's going to happen. I like that. I like not knowing what's going to happen. My kind of thing isn't to want to tell people what to do, to have, to play my idea of music or to make something that's a fixed idea.
Yeah.
I like musical systems that are open systems that kind of improvise and play with you like another partner.
Yeah.
And I tend to use effects that way.
Henry, it really resonates because 16 years ago, when you served me those cookies and then we did all these questions and talked, you said, let's jam. And I was like, wow. And then I got what you gave me a guitar and I says, well, it sort of goes like this. You go, don't tell me how it goes. Just start playing.
Yeah.
That stuck with me forever. I mean, it was really beautiful because my band is like that, Black Shoe Polish. We just improvise and free jazz and poetry in mixed media. And one time I said to this guy, because we were kind of encoring with Maggot Brain, and I said, do you know Maggot Brain? And he looked at me and he goes, no covers. So I says, that's what I should be saying. And he slapped it right back in my face. And I was like, hallelujah, no covers. So Henry, this is McLuhan saying everything we invent extends some humanness. And he sort of used the word human sensorium, which you touched on earlier. And he said, like the knife and fork extends our teeth. Shutter in a camera or projector extends our eyelid, and maybe even non-tangible, say religion or philosophy, might extend consciousness. Two items that you use. What humanness does the guitar extend for you?
Let me react to one thing you said there first, which is different about me. Okay, so the something extends the ear, something extends the eye, something extends the nose, something extends the tongue, as if you have to do those senses one at a time and you consider each sense one at a time. So I am one of those people who's clinically a synesthete. So when I hear music and sounds, I see patterns of colors and shapes moving in a separate space.
Yeah.
That's not this, it's not the space. It's not superimposed over reality. I can see this
Yeah.
other space like a movie, like a Jordan Belson film, to pick a very specific experimental filmmaker. So I think you have a different mindset when you're like that, when you try to answer your question, because it's not just extending one thing or another. It's the experience of all those things kind of rolling down together. So what does it feel like? I'm trying to think what it feels like is the best way to answer that.
That's good. That's
Answer the question once.
what
Ask the
what
question.
what humanness does the guitar extend?
It's just a door to go through.
Yeah, good.
It's just a door to go through. The humanness, the human quest to find new things and different kinds of experiences, or to find kind of things that one likes. The guitar's just a doorway to find more things.
Yeah.
How's that?
No, that's beautiful. In the scuba tank, what humanness does the scuba tank extend?
Well, it's probably the dive mask. Uh,
Oh, you mean more so your tools, the diving mask?
yeah, because the scuba tanks is letting you go underwater longer or deeper, but the mask lets you see things. And
Yeah.
there's no other tools for scuba that help you hear things or smell things or taste things. So scuba diving, I'm gathering visual information and enjoying that. And I'm also gathering kinesthetic information from the way I'm floating in space underwater,
Yeah.
and the sounds and the movements and the touch of the ocean. Um, so saying the scuba tank, it's like what you just asked about the guitar. Say, so what does the guitar strap do in, you know,
What humanness does the guitar strap extend? Yeah.
I don't usually worry about that too much, except what looks good on camera. But recently, connecting back to Elliot Ingber, guitarist who inspired me to buy my first guitar, and we were both at his memorial in Los Angeles earlier this year. He died back in January. His brother gave me Elliot's favorite guitar strap,
Oh,
which,
how cool.
which was given to Elliot by Lowell George, and it's a leather
Oh my
strap. And
God.
it's a very LA 70 kind of strap. It doesn't look like a cowboy strap or anything, but it's leather. And if I put it on my guitar, or my first guitar, I always cry because it's like he's got his arm around me, and I was friends
Oh
with Elliot,
yeah.
and I cared about him, and he did seem to care about me. And to have the strap, that's the weirdest thing. So that's a case of the strap doing something really important, but that doesn't usually happen,
Well, Henry, that was metaphorically and actually literally
yeah.
is the strap extended Elliot's arm hugging you.
Yeah.
That's
Not really.
amazing.
Yeah. And it's
I
real,
want
and it's quite dirty, and it probably smells like his clothes and stuff. And
and
he had it for a long time.
I want to go into Elliot for a second, but first, a couple things you touched on. There's a great McLuhan joke where he says the deep sea diver is down under the boat that he's diving from, and the ship goes surface at once, ship is sinking. So it's that irony that the diver's connected to the ship, but the ship is sinking, so the diver has to surface. And it's like one of those quirky kind of Zen koans that McLuhan loved. But he also talked about sense ratio shifting, which you were touching on there, because Zappa, said in Hot Rats, it's a movie for your ears. And when you read Finnegan's Wake out loud with a group of people,
River Run from Swerve Bay.
Yeah. When you do that, you are turning an eye experience, basically book reading is an eye experience, into an ear experience, because you have to hear it while you look at the words, and you have to hear it and pronounced by other people. But in sense ratio shifting, it's like that's a lot what you talked about. You can see music with colors. I mean, I remember going up to Frank one day saying Balamente, Lynch's composer, thinks C is red. And I goes, what color is the C note? And Frank goes, I don't know. Ask Rimsky-Korsakov, which was a great comeback. But the question is sort of funny.
And I think Rimsky-Korsakov and Varese would give totally different answers to that question.
Yeah, well, yeah. But what human activity where all five senses are kind of working equally? We're in a visual state here and an auditory state, but we can see hand gesture, and we're on television, telephone. But just your guess or hunch, is there a human activity where all five senses are kind of working?
I think in a hunter-gatherer lifestyle, you're doing that. In quote primitive societies, unquote.
Yeah.
You're using them all, and you're using them all to stay alive, and you're using them all to get food to bring back.
Yeah.
But painting a house, you're probably not doing that.
Oh, painting a house. I never had that one.
Yeah. Or don't know.
Well,
in East Asian martial arts traditions, probably you're using all of those things.
Yeah.
More than you would if you were just a guy with a gun, shooting people on a battlefield.
Yeah, the one I get the most is sex. The other one is dancing and going to the bathroom and swimming. That's the other ones I get, but it's endless.
I was trying to be very specific in a practical answer.
No, I mean, painting a house
rather than being personal, I was being more.
Yeah, no, painting a house in martial arts really opened it up. I need that. I'm loving. Now, just to go back to Elliot for a second before we get deeper into music, did I hear this at the memorial, or is there some research? Because I was fortunate enough to spend time with Elliot, and he was a remarkable human being. I loved him dearly, and his music affected me deep down inside me forever. And especially how he answered the phone. What? That was my favorite. And did someone say that now or is someone saying that the song Trouble Every Day is signature kind of Elliot chord playing? Did you hear this at all? That is it totally Frank wrote that signature Trouble Every Day, or did Elliot sort of, okay, play rhythm and play like this, and it's sort of half Frank and half Elliot?
I do not know. I did not hear anybody say it from the microphone on stage that day, if I was paying attention.
Yeah. Because, you wonder how much Elliot had an effect on Frank. And I would say probably a lot.
Elliot knew more about blues than Frank, and he did point Frank at a lot of things Frank hadn't heard. I know that.
That's what I think is true. Yes.
Yeah.
So bottom line, Henry, what's the function of music?
I don't know. Is it the same as the function of art? I guess it's just an art. I mean, function of music, they play the classical music for the corn, and the corn grows better. Is that a function of music? I don't know. I guess it's just whatever the function of art is, which I don't worry about, as I just get out of the way.
Yeah. But could I go through my list? Because I think some of these might, propagate a few of your thoughts. One, and I've been asking musicians of all sorts for many years this. One is, there is none. There's no function of music. I mean, Igor Stravinsky gave lectures on how music means nothing. Okay, two.
So what's the function of hold music on a telephone call? Is it to make you hang up sooner, or to make you stay on the line? That's a good question.
Oh, well, that's good. What's the function of hold music?
Is it to get rid of you, or is it to keep you there longer?
Yeah. Hold music on the telephone.
I'm sure somebody's done a study on that.
Yeah. I like that because this is what I'm for. Studying McLuhan, coming up with new questions and new metaphors. That's what it's not so much the answer. Like Rebecca Zolnitz says, just because you ask me a question doesn't mean I have to answer it. So here's John Cage. You probably heard this. He said the function of music was to soothe the soul and make it susceptible for divine intervention. Okay, here's the next one. Mickey Hart in his book. It was a warning system. They're coming to steal our food, so I'm going to hit something on these logs that, alert my to survive better, to alert my fellow people in my tribe.
Or is it for meditation? It's for mediation between the spirit world and this world in a lot of cultures early on. I don't know.
Yeah, meditation and what was
mediation
mediation
between
to
the
spirit world. I think that's what Cage was touching on. Well, my friend Dylan Buston says it was to dance.
There's that. Yep, I forget about that.
Yep. And then Norman Zamchek, keep us from going insane. David Moss, David?
I love David Moss. Yeah.
Oh, I asked him all these questions, and I was just. I said, "What's the function of music?" He said, "It's the sound of being alive."
Oh,
isn't that good? But he also said this, and these better. He said, "New Guinea culture doesn't." Well, first of all, McLuhan's line that he loves to repeat is, "The Balinese have no word for art. They do everything as well as they can." And so then David put it in the context of, he said, New Guineas have no word for music. They do everything as well as they can. And then my friend who's deeper into New Guinea culture, he said, no, they don't have names for their instruments. So just that
they have names for their flutes. I know that.
But just that idea of the Balinese have no word for music. They do everything as well as they can in regards to music. Any thoughts on that?
Yeah, from being the big world music listener, the armchair ethnomusicologist, I do know they think of things very differently in different cultures than we think of things here. And sometimes there's a light bulb goes off in your head when you hear one of those things they say. Yeah. But there's so many different cultures and so many different things.
Yeah. So, and then someone told me, oh, there's an African tribe that has the same thing. They don't have a word for music. But here's a lot of the normal ones, and I want to get to the last ones to get your thoughts. Entertainment, pleasure, express creativity, connection, community, ceremony, ritual, learning, stir emotion, self-awareness, healing, and here's the one that I'm curious most, to hypnotize people to be themselves.
Yeah, I don't think about all that kind of stuff.
Yeah.
I don't think about it.
Let's go into something we touched on earlier, which was the taste word. My friend says the 3 T's of music are technique, theory, and taste. You learn how to play it, you know the structures. How does one acquire taste?
Same one acquires taste to different kinds of foods from different countries and things like that. One experiences a bunch of things and one sees what one likes and what one doesn't like, and one learns to like new things.
Yeah.
I just see it like that.
Here's a McLuhan quote that uses that word. Song is slowed down speech. The reason cultures have different musical taste is ultimately connected to language difference. Any thought on that? Is there a connection?
Well, then we come back to my superior wharf hypothesis thing that the language forms the way you think about things and the way your culture is.
Yeah.
And I do think that that's true. But even though it's not a popular opinion nowadays, and some people think it's discredited, and some people don't think it is.
What's more fundamental, language or music?
Probably language comes first, historically. What's more fundamental, language or soundscape of where you're living? What's fundamental is the soundscape uh, that you live in, all the sounds of nature, the sounds of the weather, etc.
Yeah.
And that is one of the things that helps form language and helps form music, soundscape.
Beautiful. James Joyce's aunt or some relative scared the shit out of him because she said thunder is God telling you did, like is telling you something you did wrong. And so he was afraid of thunder his whole life. So in Finnegan's Wake, he put 10 100-letter words, which are called the thunder words. So he sort of dealt with it through his literature. And they say in the Joyce world that humans invented language by imitating thunder. That's biomimicry. Tell me an instrumental that makes you laugh.
The Perry Kingsley stuff, that early pop electronic music records, those make me laugh.
Oh,
Music Concrete, Perry Kingsley. Remember them?
Perry Kingsley. I don't know him.
Perry and Kingsley, two French guys. So there's funny videos of them miming to their music on TV talk shows and stuff from the 60s.
Oh, I will look them up. I didn't know that.
Yeah, it's kind of comedy music. It's like cartoon music.
Yeah, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
So this is something we touched on too. And I'm going to go up and the basic question is, why is 4/4 time the most commonly used time signature in Western music? But I'm going to set it up because it goes into B part. Besides being intuitive and easy, it might be because it's in sync with walking and marching, or maybe our heartbeat rhythm. Beefheart liked to vary from what he called the mama heartbeat. He said that the same old 4/4 rhythm is related to fascism. It's so fixative, so hypnotic, so synthesized that it's dangerous to the heart. Faster than the heart disco is dangerous. He wanted non-hypnotic music to break us out of the catatonic state. So any thoughts on Beefheart, and why is 4/4 time the most commonly used time signature in Western music?
It's not the most commonly used time signature in other cultures.
Yeah.
Korean, everything's in 3. The Japanese studio musicians,
Yeah.
they call Korean musicians triangles because they play everything in 3. I like that. It's an insult. It's supposed to be an insult. Hey, triangles here. Triangle just walked into the studio with his drum kit. Yeah.
Well, what's the Japanese? Henry? What's the Japanese? If Korean music is you're saying mainly in 3 or often?
Most things are in 3 in Korean music.
What is mostly in Japanese? Is there a consistent one?
Well, there's so many different kinds of music, and gagaku and ceremonial musics are in different time signatures, and some things are fluid and change a lot. So no, I think just Western classical music having most things in 4/4 is what. And then a lot of pop music in 4/4 gives that sense here that it is true.
Why is that? Why do we have that classical and pop in 4/4?
I'd go with the fascist thing that Beefheart may have said. Yeah, I'd go with that.
Yeah. Because what do you think?
I mean, I like 4/4. I like 4/4. I like 8 more than I like 4/4, but I like 16 more than I like 8. I like Teen Tall much more. Hindustani.
But do you think there's a time signature in our heartbeat, sort of, or kinda?
I don't think there's a time thing in the heartbeat. I think that there's 3 different things going on rhythmically with a human at the same time. There's the heartbeat, the foot tapping rhythm. There's a neurological rhythm, which is a different rhythm. And I think there's the breathing rhythm. So those are 3 different rhythms which are not evenly divided with each other. It's
Right.
not like somebody's playing it on a drum kit. And sometimes when two strong beats fall in the same place in two of the rhythms, it'll slightly displace one of the other beats of the other rhythm. And so I think you're asking what I think. That's what I really think. I think that there's at least three or more rhythms going on at once, two besides the heartbeat,
Yeah.
possibly more, and all of them together. And if you just pay attention to the heartbeat, you don't end up with very interesting stuff. And so many Asian musics are based on breathing rhythms instead of heartbeat rhythms. I remember Jin Hee Kim, a Korean kamungo player, is talking to a very skilled drummer, Mark Crawford, friend of mine. She say, "Oh, Mark, I show you now Korean rhythm. Let me show you. Okay, here we go. Ready?" And she's got the drum. She goes, 1, 2. Pretty soon 3. 3. And she's deciding where to put. They're not evenly
Right.
divided. She's deciding where to put each one, and she's
Yeah.
feeling a whole bunch of different. She's feeling the environment. She's feeling those different kind of rhythms in her body.
Yeah.
And to me, that's how I've always thought. She did that, and I was like, "Hey, that's right."
Yeah.
Pretty soon 3.
But pretty soon 3. Yeah.
And then she's looking for it where it's going to be.
That's great. In the middle of that Zappa song, Frank goes, Ed Man will call up Vinny and tell him where 1 is. 1. And then back to George Clinton. Everything is on the 1. So, but the heart, foot tap 1, neurological 2, breathing 3. Is that uniquely yours, or you think you got that from someone else?
I don't know. I don't remember, but I've always thought that. I've thought that since before
Yeah.
I started to play guitar, because I grew up San Francisco Bay Area, and I had non-commercial radio playing contemporary classical music, music from all different parts of the world, and then I had the free-form rock stations, and people would sneak in electronic music and lots of different things. So I heard all those different things,
Yeah.
and I tried to understand what was going on.
Yeah, that's who told me the great instructions from like Satie and Stockhausen on a score of Satie. It says, don't think when you hit this note. It's like on there. That to me is, and then Satie is play like a nightingale with a toothache.
Yeah, he wrote really funny notations on his scores.
Yeah. But just to finish up on the
oh wait, let's go back. Let's just stay on those rhythms a minute, which you remind me of Conlon Nancarrow.
There you go.
One of my favorite composers. So Conlon developed amazing music for player piano, many different quote studies for player piano. And he was interested in different tempos at the same time, tempos that didn't have even mathematical relationships with each other, and also tempos that were changing, like one tempo speeding up and one slowing down in a piece. And he had this polytempo stuff going on. I loved his music. I heard it before I got guitar. Then I became friends with him later on. And then I got to go and stay at his house in his studio in Mexico City when we re-recorded his studies after the 1750 Arch recordings. We re-recorded his studies for the Verdo label in Germany. So I got to sit in his studio and play any of his rolls I wanted at whatever speed I wanted and have this amazing direct experience of them.
Unbelievable. Henry, I got to tell you two quick Conlon stories.
Yeah.
So a lot of us learned from that list making of Frank. He would go, let's hear it for another great Italian, Conlon Nancarrow, in the middle of his song. So we'd go, well, who is this? So we'd go find his music. I was like, that was mind blowing. So I'm working for Frank. I'm driving from Venice to the Valley to the office. And
call from big cell phone.
KCRW on National Pentagon Radio is playing. They're playing Conlon Nancarrow on the radio as I'm driving, and it puts me in a trance, and I miss my exit, and I'm late for work. So I told Frank later in the day, he didn't care because he's at his house. I'm at the office. I says, I was late for work because you turned me on to Conlon and Carol and it tranced me out. And he got a kick out of that. But do you know, we did a I forgot what it was called. But
I've got your email, but haven't.
Television telephone pre-Zoom many years ago through Electric Cafe in Santa Monica. We did a talk with Conlon in Santa Monica, and he was in Mexico on like television telephone. And Trimkin, I think, was involved in the talk. Oh, you're on mute.
Step back.
That's good.
Okay, that's Trimpin, not Trimkin.
Okay, sorry. Yeah. And he said, I told, you probably know this story. I think it's in the movie. He said, there's one piano roll at the end and we're not sure, is it this note or that note? It was a little like wonky. And Conlon just goes, quit hassling me about that. Go ahead.
One of the cool things at Conlon's house is he had a big library in his house and kind of a basement. And it was a big library with stacks like in a regular library.
Yeah.
Ready for this? It was a library of books exclusively about time.
Oh my God.
So there were hundreds and hundreds of books about time in all senses of thinking about time and music and non-music. No, it's incredible. It was insane.
Yeah.
Yeah, I remember going there. He's like, they're all about time. And I look and like, what?
But it sounds like, have you ever read The Aleph by Borges?
I have, but I've forgotten it long ago.
Yeah, but it sounds like that. You go in there and you see everything. So one last thing about time is Beefheart, especially with the Drumbo, expanded this sort of drunken sailor stagger in percussion. It sort of reminds me of Buster Keaton turning a stumble into a dance. And my sister would do this as a cheerleader. She'd take an empty soup can and throw it down the stairs to the basement. And it would hit randomly on steps and go bap, 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 bap. And then it would give her a beat to do cheerleading with. So I was curious, and in the time signature topic we're talking about, what did Drumbo do? I mean, to the common listener, that I always say he innovated rock drumming, but how would you expand on articulating that?
Well, Drumbo's 18 on Trout Mask Replica, I believe, right? It's crazy how young he is.
Yeah.
And Drumbo was super creative and had all these ideas, and some of them would get credited to Don, and once in a while Don would have an idea, but it's largely Drumbo, the way the drums are.
Yeah.
But
what is he doing? What is he doing? Just playing different time signatures, or what is he doing that he innovated rock drumming so much on his playing?
He has idea of shapes and feel and things like that. It's just personal sensibility. It's not a mission to do a specific thing.
Yeah.
And I've got to make a lot of records with him, and we talk on the phone every week, so we're always in touch.
Good.
I called him this morning, but he didn't answer. And it's just he's he, Keith Moon, a few other people are the most amazing rock drummers. Amazing rock drummer.
I was fortunate enough to interview Drumbo at Echo Park Film Center once, so I appreciated him. And so this is the LA Free Press in the summer of '69, talking to Zappa. You mentioned Pauline Oliveros' work with sound, above the audible and below, creating a mass, and you like that idea. Frank's response, not that it created a mass, it created something audible. It produced a some indifference tone, which happened to be located within the audible frequency.
Yeah, that's what I exactly thought when you were reading the first part of that.
Okay, but let me just read the final part he said. By combining something so high you couldn't hear it and something so low you couldn't hear it, it yields something in the middle that you could hear. Whether or not you liked what you heard in the middle is another question. The concept is brilliant. So any comments on fleshing out what is some indifference tone in audible frequency range?
Yeah, I mean that's just sound physics, and sometimes that's a musical device, and sometimes it's not. In all kinds of music throughout time, especially in performance spaces, because that has to do with performance space a lot too. Just
Yeah.
like just like echo and reverb in different performance spaces. I know my friends in the Rova Saxophone Quartet. They really figured out how to do difference tones, especially low difference tones between two high saxophones. And they had used to have pieces 40 years ago that were all based on creating difference tones. So that pretty amazing stuff.
Love it. I love that band. Are they still playing?
They're still playing.
Oh my God. Please hook me up because I'd love to interview them
So,
all.
so here's the weird thing. We were both on Meta Language Records. We ran that label together with the pianist Greg Goodman, right? And
Yeah.
so we started out with improv and crazy and free music audiences, right?
Yeah.
Something's different about our audiences now, and I tried to figure out why. See, do you have a reason for this? Okay, Rova's audience is all old. You go to a Rova concert, everybody's old, really old, over 60. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah.
The way it's been for me the last 10 or 15 years, everybody's under 30.
For your concerts, not Rova's, you mean?
Yeah. And we came out of the same scene. We played for the same audiences originally. And I tend to get new audience. And I know a lot of people from my generation don't get new audience. And I have no idea why.
Henry, it's something deep to talk about. We can explore it and I'll think about it because I'd love to do a part two because we only got about 20 more minutes and get into a lot of deeper things. But that's what I like. I'm always pondering these kind of things on, like just who gets into James Joyce and Finnegan's Wake. As soon as Terence McKenna mentions it and Burning Man kids are reading it, then younger people will tap in. So it's sort of like, how do you get that little spark that will enable, it was like Frank mentioning Conlon and Carroll. Who would have known, except that when he mentioned it, that made us go explore it. So
Yeah.
sometimes it's an elder giving that tipping tip, like, oh, go check this out. No one, people weren't listening. I mean, there were a lot of people learned of Alan Holdsworth because Frank would not inevitably was saying, who's your favorite guitar? Hubert Sumlin, Guitar Slim, and Johnny Guitar Watson, and T-Bone Walker. And then after a while he says, okay, now I'm going to say Alan Holdsworth. So then everybody would go listen to Alan Holdsworth. And I know you have a lot, but let's go into silence because I'm curious your thoughts on, George Clinton said funk is the absence of. Miles talked about the space between notes. How do you know when not to play? How do you
Well,
know? Yeah,
I
go
have
ahead.
I have studied the great masters and learned their lessons. I've been fortunate to have known Wadada Leo Smith since I was in college in
Yeah,
1976, and
yeah,
Wadada's writings on silence and space and using space in music, and then the experience of making many albums with Wadada and seeing how he used silence and letting me understand better how Miles did. He's a master of science, and listening to certain shakuhachi players like Watazumi Doso, a particular one in Japan who's
yeah.
long dead, was a master of silence. And oddly enough, Cecil Taylor's a master of
Oh
silence.
God,
A
yeah,
master. People think he's playing a million notes and all this, which he is a lot of the time. But even when he's doing that, he's leaving these spaces where nobody else would see them to leave them. And if you listen to him and you listen for that, you start to learn from Cecil or Wadada or Miles or Vilayat Khan or anybody or
yeah,
the Degar brothers. You start to learn how to place that silence.
yeah. We need to salute Paul, or I want to salute Paul Plymley, who was sort of like the Cecil
Oh,
of canon.
great pianist.
Great.
I worked with him for almost 50 years before he
Yeah.
died.
Yeah. I made movies with him and music. He's amazing. Here's a couple thoughts on silence. I'd love for you to just react to, if anything. Monk, silence is the loudest sound in the universe.
Yeah, that's often true. Yeah.
Oui, oui. For me, silence is music.
It's all figure ground stuff. You got to talk about both the figure and the ground, and decide
Yeah,
which is, when he says silence is the loudest sound, that's reversing the figure in the ground and saying the ground, the background of the vase is the, is the more powerful thing than the bass. And that's how you can shift your position and
really
perception.
good.
Yeah.
Really good, Henry. Did you learn figure ground from Gestalt therapy, or where did you come across figure ground?
I don't know if it was some kind of science reading or if I saw it, if it showed up in some science fiction author who was obsessed with it in the 1960s. I don't remember, but I've known that forever.
Yeah,
I've
because
known it
it's
since.
funny. Wikipedia has McLuhan's name in the figure ground, and they talk about Fritz Perl and in Gestalt therapy. But I'm always curious. You
Yeah, I
know,
don't. I don't know much. I read the Pearl book a lot when, like in high school, but I don't remember anything about it.
couple more. Here's Roscoe Mitchell. Silence is perfect.
Yeah, yeah. It has perfect technique, doesn't it? Yeah.
Henry, this is fun. I love it. Okay, Bob Dylan. Experience teaches that silence terrifies the most.
Yeah, I don't know if he's talking about music or if he's talking about things that happen between music or he's talking about the audience. I don't know what he's talking about there. But I
Yeah,
don't think he's not talking about Miles Davis, I don't think.
yeah. And one more silence thing. Thomas Carlyle. Speech is of time, silence is of eternity.
I don't know. Seems like silence and sound are equally there for both to me.
Yeah.
Yeah, they don't they belong to both clubs. Both of them belong to both clubs.
Very good. Um, This is Ruth Draper. The key is to bring the audience up onto the stage and into the scene with you. It is they who must give you even more than you give them in the way of imagination and creative power. That sounds good, but how do you do that?
I just get out of the way, so I don't care about what they're giving me. It's between them and the spirit world, as far as I'm concerned. And I'm just, I'm the chauffeur. I'm not
Yeah,
somebody they're paying. I'm driving the car without Elvis in it. I'm not. I'm not
I'm the
Elvis.
chauffeur. I like that. But I mean, you were huge into seeing dead shows. How did they bring the audience up onto the stage? Is there something there that you observed from their technique?
Well, that's about dancing to start with.
Yeah,
That's how their culture came from. So
yeah,
that's about dancing and community experience.
yeah,
And as a musician, you might learn something from any of the players at
yeah,
any period in the Grateful Dead, but that's not what the audience is really caring about. It might excite one of them like a little light bulb going off every once in a while, but that's not what they're studying.
yeah.
I just to speak of something weird, which I just discovered. I was writing a piece for Premier Guitar Magazine on the history of guitar tablature, which is the way that the
Yeah,
little lines that tell you what frets.
yeah,
That's the primary method of guitar education in the U.S. today. Okay,
yeah,
and then
yeah,
I look back. I was like, that came in about the same time I started playing guitar, and the first books come out just before I start playing guitar with tablature, and it doesn't appear to magazines till a few years later. So when did that start? And I know it started in the 15th and 16th century in classical music, but after World War II, it wasn't around at all.
yeah.
And so I looked really hard this past week. That's been a big topic of research. I've talked to many, many people this past week. Who's the first guitarist after World War II that teaches music by giving tablature to their students? It was much less common than I thought. Nobody in New York was doing it. Who do you think it was?
Jeez, I
I'll
don't
give
know.
you a clue. It's 1964. Give
I
you another clue. It's in Palo Alto, California.
Jerry Garcia.
Yep.
Wow.
Because he had taken tablature idea of tablature from a 1948 book by Pete Seeger, How to Play the Five-String Banjo, where Seeger had banjo tablature, but nobody adapted it to guitar that I can find any evidence of. And I've talked to a lot of old people. It's Garcia in 64. And then other people take it from the Pete Seeger. But Garcia does it first in teaching. Isn't that weird?
Yeah.
It's so
Did
weird.
you ask, I'm curious, did you ask Elijah Wald?
I did not ask Elijah Wall because he's not old enough to know. I asked people who were in their 80s.
Yeah.
I asked Stefan Grossman. I asked Jody Stecker, people like that. Banana
Yeah.
from the Youngbloods, people like that. And
You're doing the deep dive research, which we need to have happen, Henry. We're grateful. This is Leonard Cohen. The only way you can sell a concert is if you put yourself at risk. And if you don't do that, people know. What role does risk play in your creative process?
Okay. I'm an Antarctic diver. I'm a dive instructor. I'm a risk assessment specialist. I've taken many classes in risk assessment and training people how to do effective risk assessment so they don't die underwater in the ocean, or their students don't die underwater in the ocean.
Yeah.
So it's funny you should mention it. I think about it all the time. We're doing a day's diving in Antarctica. I'm assessing the risk of everything. The other science group comes in and leaves a stupid big submersible blocking half of the dive hole. So if we had an unconscious diver, we couldn't get them out of the hole. And I'm like, no, we're not diving today. And I'm, oh, come on, we can go diving. There's not going to be an unconscious diver. No, we're not going diving today. It's too high a risk. But I don't ever think that about music or do any kind of risk assessment there that's conscious.
Yeah.
So I don't think about risk on stage. I don't think about risk, I think about risk on losing the luggage flying on the airplane or something like that, get there and not have my guitar. But I don't think about risk as part of the transaction with the audience. But I think about it all the time with diving. I think about it all the time with driving.
Yeah.
I think about it if I'm up on the roof trying to fix the skylight that's leaking. I'm because I had all this risk assessment training. So I don't think about it, but people must, but I don't.
It's really good. You brought up a lot there. I just want to interject, driverless cars, Waymo's used Venice as a training ground for a year now, and they're all over the place. And I don't want to go, I don't want to use one, but they have 27 cameras on one car. So your risk factor is if you ask your friend to drive, or your friend's the best driver, they're more safe than a human. So that's
no, you're saying the Waymo propaganda, because in San Francisco, where Waymo is a disaster from hell.
Is it really? Okay.
Accidents, killing people, driving into construction holes. It's one thing after another. And in San Francisco, if you count the accidents and compare it to a human driver, it's way, way, way worse. And the city wants them out of there. And the state, who's been paid off by the Waymo company, wants them to stay there.
Right.
So the city hasn't been able to get rid of them, but it's a disaster and everybody hates it.
Well, listen.
So that's their fake propaganda. That's like the Tesla's going to be a self-driving car, 10 years ago when they promised it. It's not ever going to be.
Well, I appreciate you enlightening me, because you enlightened me about Google Chrome too, and I didn't know that. So I appreciate these tips. They're really important. But I wanted to go back to risk in music. 80%, 90% of these musicians I ask, if the Leonard Cohen quote, and I says, what role does risk play in your creative process? They go, oh, it's a huge. And then one person, I'm serious, one person, Napoleon Murphy Brock, who sang with Frank Zappa, said, no, I leave risk in the dressing room. So he's like implying I've come out on the stage and I have to feel and act like I'm confident of what I'm doing, because it's very strict music and I'm being playful at the same time. So there's a big range there of how much risk. But it goes on to Viola Spolin, this woman who kind of invented comedy improv. So she's in Chicago doing social work role playing, and she sort of spawned the Groundlings, Saturday Night Live, and all comedy improv. And quite a remarkable woman. And she said, if the audience cannot see your struggle to achieve something, they cannot root for you to achieve it. So what role does struggle play in your creative process? Whether you're on stage or in the studio,
None.
Yeah.
And I'm somebody who doesn't practice guitar. The only time I play guitar is if it's a recording or a performance, or if I'm repairing a guitar or testing a piece of equipment. There's no struggle. I just get up there and do what I do, and what I do is what happens.
Yeah.
But I never think, oh, if I'd worked harder, I could have done that better or something, because it's not like I'm playing, a Bartok string quartet on guitar that I have to play perfectly. It's For me, it's do I do a good job of getting out of the way? And I've done that for so long, I just get out of the way. So I don't,
Yeah.
there's no, this, the struggle is, taking the taxi cab with the gear and having them steal the guitar or something like that. The struggle's all on the way to the gig,
Yeah.
not in the dressing room. It's on the way to the gig. And I have another funny habit I've always had is I have kind of a general rule. I don't go in the dressing room. I just stay in the back of the hall
Yeah.
where the people are. So I stay in
Yeah.
the room where the people are. I don't go in the dressing room. So
Yeah.
as soon as the sound check's done, I just stay in the hall.
Yeah.
So I don't. So I think that was interesting. Most people go in the dressing room, and your Napoleon Murphy Brock story of he has a
Yeah.
thing about the dressing room is where you prepare, and I don't have that. I just stay out of the dressing room.
Yeah.
And also, if you stay in the hall, nobody bothers you and tries to talk to you. You can just read your book, and nobody
Yeah.
bothers you. But people will come knock on the dressing room and bother you and stuff.
Yeah. And bother you.
And if I want to read the book, they just leave you alone.
Yeah, Henry, it reminds me of Sonny Rollins. After the concert's done, he goes in the dressing room and he keeps playing. And the guys in his band go, dude, we're done. He goes, I'm still trying to work things out.
One thing I did before the pandemic for a few years, if I was playing a solo concert, is I show up, I get everything working on stage, okay? And then I wait for the first paid person to come in the hall, which, if it's an 8 o'clock concert, they might come in at 7:30. And then I start playing, and I play one long solo improvisation until it's time to start the concert.
Oh, I love that.
While people are coming in, and I love doing that.
Oh,
and then nobody's going to bother you and talk to you either.
I do that too on all my speaking engagements. I start 10, 15 minutes before the start time because people are sitting there. I goes, the early bird gets the worm, the second mouse gets the cheese. Let's start talking now. So here's Ben Ratliff. He wrote this book on Bill Frisell. I mean sound, as it has long functioned among jazz players as a mystical term of art, as in every musician finally needs a sound, a full and sensible embodiment of their artistic personality, such that it can be heard at best in a single note. So me and you could hear Elliot and we go, that's Elliot. We could hear, Leo Nascenteli a couple notes, that's Leo. Ben said it in 2 words. He said Miles, fragile and pointed. Coltrane, slightly undercooked and urgent. If a music writer was going to describe Henry's sound in a couple words, what 2 words would you be happy? Hey, they kind of got me.
Yeah, I don't think of it the way, to me, I don't think of it having anything to do with words. So
yeah,
it just might be timbre or articulation, but not the technical terms of those. I don't think of that way. I don't think of it being associated with words. That's funny. You mentioned that. So that's what the guy who wrote the Frisell book said, right?
Ben Ratliff.
Not Frisell. I thought that was such a disappointing book. I thought that was one of the worst artist biographies I've ever read. I could not believe it when I got it. I was like, this is terrible. Poor Bill. But it wasn't to my taste.
Here's our final one I hope we can do part 2, Henry. Thank you so much. But here's Our final one. Paul Bley. When he died, this was in his obit. I've spent many years learning how to play as slow as possible, and then many years how to play as fast as possible. At the present, I'm trying to spend as many years learning how to play as bad as possible.
Oh, I like that.
Well, listen to the rest. My solo piano playing is a question in itself. The question is why? And after why comes what? And after what comes when? So my question to you is, of the 5 W starting question words, why, when, what, who, and where, what is the one that's resonates the most for you or most important?
Where?
Why?
Where?
What?
Where?
Where? Oh my God. What's second?
I don't think about the others.
That is so cool. Where?
I think about this. I think about this acoustic environment of where I am and where
Yeah,
people have come from and what the lighting's like. That's what I think about.
love it. Do you,
Let me
you
try, let me try one thing on you. We have a couple of more minutes, right?
oh yeah, no, we can go as long as we want, but yeah, go ahead.
Okay.
But
So
wait, if is it on that? I wanted to stay on that topic just
okay,
for
let's do it. Let's do it. Then we'll go to my topic.
okay. What do you think people say is the most important W question? What's your guess?
Why?
That's it. It's
That's the
always
biggest. That's the biggest. That's the biggest cliche.
And do you know that is cliche? And do you know Thomas Nordegg? Because you should. He's the greatest guitar tech of all time for Zappa, Yngwie, Steve Vai.
Yeah, he's. I met him at the NAMM show, but since he's an LA guy and I'm not an LA guy,
He's just such an amazing
yeah,
human.
yeah.
You two would get along. His favorite W word is when.
When?
Okay, when. You know.
Yeah.
So I love when though. Okay, go ahead. What were you going to say or ask?
Okay, so I do this quarterly video show on the Cuneiform Records YouTube channel, and the last show was on the topic of how I define psychedelic guitar. Okay.
Yeah.
So for my definition of psychedelic guitar, it does one or more of 3 things. 1, it changes how the listener and the audience see themselves. 1.
Yes.
2, it changes how the listener and the guitar player see everything outside themselves.
Yeah.
Or 3, it opens the door for spirits to come in that do those first 2 things. Okay.
Oh God, that's great.
So I just want to play psychedelic or not. We're going to list some musicians. Okay. McCoy Tyner. Psychedelic or not?
Oh, you're asking
I'm
me.
asking you. Yes, I've turned the tables.
In regards to those 3 things.
Yeah, I'm just going to, yes. Okay.
Oh, I would say McCoy, yes.
Okay. Paul Bley.
Paul Bley. I would say, well,
I would say yes, based on the ECM records.
I'm open. I mean, all these people I love so much that
I know. That's why I put you on the spot.
Yeah, but I would say yes to Paul. Go ahead.
Rand Blake.
Who?
Rand Blake.
The pianist in George Russell world.
Yeah.
In New England Conservative.
Yeah.
Oh, I would say yes to Rand.
Yeah, so would I. And Cecil's, of course, is psychedelic, no question.
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Let's do a few drummers, okay? Keith Moon, psychedelic.
Oh, yes.
Is Ed Blackwell psychedelic?
Yes.
Is Billy Higgins psychedelic?
No. I would say no. Yeah.
No. Yeah. Isn't that interesting? Okay, so let's try. Is Scott LaFaro, bass player, psychedelic?
I don't know Scott well enough. I would say no. What would you say on Scott?
I would say yes with him.
Okay.
So let's pick some. Do you know Cerrone's bass playing? Cerrone?
I don't.
Okay. Is Charlie Hayden psychedelic?
Yes.
I'd say no.
Oh my God! I got
different opinions.
I got a great Charlie Hayden. I mean, I would have to digest the 3.
It's not good or bad. I'm just saying it's not. I'm not saying it's good.
No,
or
I
bad.
know. Okay. Yeah.
Zappa is psychedelic. Yes.
I would say yes.
Yes.
You know my thing about Frank and Jerry too. when Overnight Sensation came out, we were all deadheads, and we said you could take 3 seconds of those guitar solos and juxtapose them to Jerry's and not tell the difference. They were both psychedelic rock guitarists turning it up loud, but Jerry came out of country blues and Frank came out of urban blues.
He came out of bluegrass more than urban.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying.
Yeah,
He
yeah.
came out, but it's amazing because I saw Jerry open for Frank in Chicago, and the most beautiful thing happened. In the middle of Frank's solos, the audience would start clapping. No Zappa heads ever did that. They're all snooty. They didn't like the Dead. Now a lot of Zappa heads didn't like the Dead, but here the Deadheads are clapping during a guitar solo. I was like, this is fucking cool. But you know the great line Frank uses to satirize the Dead? Do you know this in Joe's Garage? He says, I'll go to a midnight screening of 200 Motels, and then I'll go to a Grateful Dead concert and I'll tighten my headband during a Jerry Garcia solo to increase my buzz. And I would have loved for those two guys to sit around and talk. That would have been fun.
No, they would have got along and talked just fine.
Oh, I know. They were both amazing. I mean, they were both, you know, who I know, you know them, Earl's who's the Merle Saunders' son?
Merle Saunders. Oh,
you know,
yeah, his son's a great guy.
His son is the guitar tech, was a guitar tech for Frank.
I didn't know that.
Yeah, and so I would talk to him, and it was like there's just such a, you know, the beautiful thing was that East Coast Deadheads loved Frank. West Coast Deadheads were sort of more snooty. And I was like, hey, come on. Have you been to the Sphere?
I have not.
Did you? I was interviewing this guy. You know him. We should do this off camera. Let's do it off camera. We'll go into the green room now, unless you got another one.
No, let's just do a couple of more.
Okay.
Is Coltrane psychedelic?
Yes.
Is Ornette Coleman psychedelic?
Oh, yes.
Yeah, I think so too. Some people think not if I say that.
Oh, I'd say yes.
Is Junior Walker psychedelic?
Well, I would say no, but I still love him.
Yeah, I think
what do
he
you?
kind of did. He kind of is renting the rip between the spirit world and this world. That's what I would say about Junior Walker.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, I love Junior Walker and the All Star is amazing.
Yeah. Is Les Paul psychedelic?
Yeah.
You think so? Huh.
Because I mean that multiple, you know, I mean it's really difficult for me because I'm biased towards the word psychedelic, and you defining it with these three things.
Yeah, I'm going with my definition very specifically.
Yeah. And so, you know, I'm kind of saying no. I mean, I think Les Paul could be considered very psychedelic. Yeah. So
Pat Martino is always psychedelic, to pick another jazz player.
I love Pat Martino.
Yeah.
He was, well, that was the first shit we heard in college where we went, holy shit. That really opened up, you know.
Who's the most influential psychedelic guitarist on all the San Francisco bands? Everybody. Barry Milton goes.
Wow, that's a good. You know that better than me. I would go with like Cipollini or
no. Who's the most influential guy at all of those guys?
Oh, the most influential.
Who came before them?
Oh my God,
it's who they went to see live in 1964. Gabor Szabo.
Oh wow, that's good.
So he's kind of the father of West Coast psychedelic guitar.
Oh, that is good.
And no one ever talks about that.
Oh, I love, that's beautiful. I mean, that's what you've done your whole career. The day you called me up and said, talk to me about you making the Captain Beefheart Dead Airplane album was like a big opening in my whole guitar world. Because I love to talk guitar till the cows come home. I love it. And so I really appreciate all this. So we have to do a part 2 so we can go deep.
Sure.
Okay. So are you done? Because then okay. I have to do my official ending. I appreciate everything you do, Henry, and all your time and energy today. And even though I'm going to hit the end broadcast button, I hope this never ends and we can keep talking
Yes.
forever and ever.
Yes.
Okay, stay there. I'm going to hit this and I'm going to hit that.